Guys, I apologize. I had a contractor come and ring my doorbell, and I had to chat with him for a few minutes. I apologize because I think this is going to be two separate videos. I don't want to start again from the beginning because I feel like I said so much good stuff. So I'm going to try to pick up where I left off. Got a little distracted there, but such is the nature. So in regards to Santosha and cultivating wholeness within, so that we might be content with ourselves, and cultivate that feeling of contentment no matter what is going on externally. So and I talked about non-duality, which is a big it's a big theme in Buddhism as well as yoga, because again, as yogis, we believe that attachment and aversion is what causes our suffering. So when we are able to separate ourselves from the dual mind of good versus bad, right versus wrong, etc., then we are able to fully be in our wholeness. So non-duality, one of the things that I was reading about, Pepper, it's okay, Pepper. One of the things that he's smiling, all is well. It's really interesting that the dog is barking so loudly, because one of the things that I have been practicing with non-duality, Pepper, it's okay, sweetheart, is non-duality. I'm gonna just wait. Non-duality of sound or stimulus. Like when the puppy starts barking or my child starts screaming and you like immediately have this reaction. I hope you guys can hear me. You immediately have this reaction, right? So one of the things that I'm using as an exercise for myself in non-duality is being able to sit with that stimulus as well. Instead of sitting and screaming and plugging my ears and, oh my God, I can't stand it. It's like, this is just another vibrational frequency that is in my environment right now, right? And then there's the alternating vibrational frequencies of quiet or silence. But as you stop running from these things that we have this associated response with, as you stop running and start tuning in or turning to them even, you realize it's really not all that bad. It's not all that aggravating. It's simply another vibrational frequency, right? So that's a perfect example because we do have a new puppy, and sometimes the puppy's barking at night and my kids are trying to sleep and all of these things come up, and I just sit and say, it's okay. This is happening in the current moment, and in the next moment something else will be happening, right? So being able to comfort ourselves, calm our own nervous system, and then give ourselves that positive self-talk of, this is simply an experience that I'm having at this moment. So I really love practicing with non-duality, and that simple example is a way that you can apply it in your life. If you find yourself having a reaction to, traffic in the morning or whatever it might be, you can remind yourself that it simply is. It doesn't need to be good, bad, ugly, beautiful. It simply is. And that is always changing. Even when things don't feel as though they're changing, they are. And sometimes we need to remind ourselves of that as well. I talked a lot about the seat of the observer, the non-judgmental seat of the observer. So consistently practicing that so that when we are triggered, angry, sad, overwhelmed, we can come to ourselves and say, it's okay. I see that you're there, grief. I see that you're there hurt. I see that you're there shame. And I'm here with you in this experience. It is an experience that you are having, and this too shall pass. Okay? It comes with a lot of practice. A lot of practice. One thing that really struck me with this idea of contentment, Santosha, was, suffering and our experiences as human beings. I don't believe that there is an experience, a human experience that is without suffering. We all have different kinds of suffering, different types, different experiences, and different ways in which we respond and process these things. But I don't believe that there is a human experience that is without suffering. And I believe that is part of the divine design. I truly do. So when I thought about this idea of contentment, I thought about losing my older brother. And I thought to myself, how can I be content that my brother is dead? Like I can't reconcile these two things. I want him here with me, How can you cultivate contentment when you are experiencing these unbearable emotions, which sometimes they feel so strong, it feels unbearable. It feels as though I've been hit by a tidal wave and I can't breathe in that moment, And I'm sure that anyone listening to this has had their own experiences that cause these really strong emotions to come up, that can feel that all you want to do is run and hide or disappear or go back to before this bad thing happened, right? And I truly believe now, my brother's been gone for almost 8 years now, rest his soul, rest his spirit. And I truly believe now that these experiences that we go through as human beings are our path to contentment. Because, as I mentioned, and in the words of Thich Nhat Hanh, one of my favorite Buddhist monks, suffering is necessary for happiness. Just as the lotus flower needs the mud to bloom, we need this suffering in order to find true happiness. I know that in the moment when you've experienced a tragic loss, that is the last thing that you want to hear. And believe me, I went through 2 years after my brother passed away of being completely dead, like Walking Dead, just turned off, just completely turned off inside. I understand that we need time and space and healing to come full circle, to begin to be content with losses we've suffered in our lives, to cultivate this awareness and this understanding that had I not had this experience, I may not be exploring the yogic path today, right? Just a quote came to mind, and this was something I don't have who originally said it because it was repeated by one of my teachers in a koan talk. But what he said was, "Break me open, because when I am closed, I am false." And I was false. I was a false image of myself before I had this life-shattering loss, which completely broke me open into a million pieces. And somehow I found the ability within to put those pieces back together, to begin to explore all that I had lost, and to begin to understand how to be whole again. And it was a long, long process. But in yoga, we frequently see this concept, as I mentioned in the first part of the video, of the yin with the yang. You can't have one without the other, right? We need them both in order to understand what's actually happening here. And the pain is what guts us, right? Just shreds everything, all of the walls, all the facades, all the defenses, all of the projections. It sheds it all. And then the heart can become sweet again. It just, even little things, that I was closed off to, I can be aware of now, and I can smile and think, what a sweetness. And that comes from that mindfulness of being present in that moment, which when we are a false version of ourselves, we're never present in any moment. So break me open, because when I am closed, I am false. And I seek wholeness, and I seek unity, and I'm constantly practicing this Santosha. So I've talked a lot, I know. I want to see what other stuff that I forgot to say. Contentment as an internal state, not an external state. So I know a lot of people are familiar with the arrival fallacy, that when I have this, I'll be happy. When I get a bigger house, when I get another job, when I can do my forearm handstands, like headstand rather, whatever it might be, then I'll be happy. And in this way, we keep ourselves forever unhappy, waiting for the next shoe to drop, waiting for the next big thing to make us happy, when our happiness comes from within. We cannot wait for this next thing to happen, or this next accomplishment or achievement. We can't wait, because all we have is now to be happy. You don't want to spend your whole life waiting for the next great thing and then look back and realize you were it the whole time, right? So I talked about attachment and aversion, the kleshas, which create discontentment, creating gratitude for the process of watching things unfold in the current moment. So again, being able to sit, be mindful, be present, falling in love with ourselves, shedding all those false versions, all those masks, so that we might reveal the true divine consciousness that is Brahma, that is God, from which we all come within. Using our breath work as a way to bring us back to the current moment. Pranayama is a wonderful tool, and breath tethers our soul to our bodies, as it tethers us to the current moment. We're always breathing, we're rarely aware of it. So stopping and taking 2 to 3 minutes every day to sit and breathe, focusing only on the breath, on the inhale, on the exhale, and seeing how it makes you feel. Grounding ourselves, breath is one way, creating grounding practices that create connection to the current moment. And then finally, because I know I've been talking for quite a while, and I apologize if this was kind of all over the place, but finally, Thich Nhat Hanh, as I mentioned, gives us 3 tools for finding contentment when your emotions seem unbearable. Okay? And I'll say one more thing about that, but first let me give you his 3 tools. So the first tool is turn to what is good in the present moment. It's one of the keys to cultivate gratitude in our daily experience, is what's good right now, right? I'm warm. I'm surrounded by my loved ones. I have plants that are growing in my home. Very simple things. I have a clean glass of water. Simple things that we can stop and recognize this is good, even though these other things are happening and they may not feel good right now. I choose to focus on what is good in the current moment. Number two, to show up and nurture our suffering. So instead of this natural human tendency to turn away from the suffering when things don't feel good, we're going to turn into it. We're going to greet that suffering head on and say, hello, pain. Hello, loss. Hello, shame. I see you're there again. And I'm here with you, nurturing you and holding you and understanding your true expression right now. Cultivating the strength to turn into our suffering, the courage to show up to these feelings that sometimes we need to bawl or tantrum or just curl up in a fetal position and cry on our mats, right? And again, it's sadhana, it's practice. So over time of having these charged emotional reactions to things and showing up to those reactions, I know now I'm strong enough to face grief. Now I'm strong enough to face self-doubt, right? Because I've had this and I turned into it. I didn't run from it. And then number three, which I already mentioned, but again, crediting Thich Nhat Hanh here. Number three he mentions is cultivate mindful breathing. And we already talked about the breath being a tether to the body as well as to the present moment. So finally, in regards to those three tools, I know that if you're going through something like I went through when I lost my brother, to say, turn to what is good in the present moment sounds very dismissive almost, like nothing is good. My brother is gone from this physical realm and I cannot go and get a hug from him, right? And again, I'm using my own experience because that's what I can speak on, okay? We all have our own experiences. So I know to say in that moment, to say to somebody who is grieving a tragic or traumatic loss, turn to what is good and cultivate gratitude would not be appropriate, okay? But what I am suggesting is that over time, with consistent practice of being able to hold yourself, nurture yourself, let those feelings come while telling yourself, I am not my emotions. I am having a strong emotional response now, but I am not my emotions. I am so much more. My experience is so much more. And I must go through this mud to become this lotus flower that I was always meant to be. All right? So that's what I have for today. That feels complete to me. I hope you enjoyed this talk as much as I've enjoyed giving it and learning about Santosha and practicing Santosha and reconciling for myself this idea of contentment in the face of unbearable emotions, unbearable sadness, unbearable hurt, being able to understand the art of suffering. And the bodhisattvas, they smile to suffering because they know from suffering, compassion is bred. And compassion is what we can offer other human beings as a connection to divine light within. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you'll enjoy practicing with me tonight at 8:15 on IG Live. I will be leading a sequence to honor Santosha. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Namaste.